This video, I'm going to be going over all of the different types of World of Warcraft private servers. Now, most of my audience, as seen by this poll here, they know all of the various terms as well as what kind of private server they enjoy. Now, I'm going to be listing tons of different servers under the categories for those people who maybe they know of one server but they're unfamiliar with a different server. However, I'm also going to be going through what the various categories are for anyone who is new to the private server scene, new to my channel. They don't know what a vanilla plus server is. They don't know what a fun server is. So let's get into it. So first things first, Blizzlike servers. That's basically what it sounds like. It is a server that's dedicated to recreating whatever era or expansion of World of Warcraft it is, as close to the way that Blizzard initially released it, whether it be Vanilla WoW, whether it be TBC, whether it be Wrath of the Lich King, even Dragonflight, and all the other expansions. So I have an entire list of those that we'll get to in just a second, but that, in a sense, is what a Blizz-like private server is. Now, sometimes there are variations. You can sometimes find servers that are Blizz-like in category, but they might have some changes. There are servers with no changes, and there's servers with some changes. It really depends, and that's why there's a multitude of various servers to choose from. Now then, a Vanilla Plus server, or just a Plus server in general, but there's not many others beyond Vanilla Plus. What that basically means is that it is the exact same Blizz-like content of Vanilla or other expansions, but again, those are limited. And instead of just keeping it pure Blizz-like, they decide to build upon the foundation of what made that era so great. So Vanilla, for an example, has way more RPG elements, has a bigger emphasis on the world itself, and there's so many like little stories to flesh out the lore and the world building rather than all the stuff that it does now in the game, right? So Vanilla itself, the original classic version of the game, was in an unfinished state. Plenty of zones, dungeons, all that kind of stuff were planned to be implemented. Emerald Dream, it's in the code, but it never got implemented. It was scrapped. Hyjal, the Dragon Islands, I believe Zandalar, all of this stuff. I mean, Zandalar's on the map. All of this stuff was planned and then never added. Karazhan and Karazhan Crypts, obviously. So, a Vanilla Plus server seeks to basically reintroduce all of the cut content on top of sometimes adding their own unique content, which can vary in, quality, obviously, though they try to do it with keeping to the spirit of Vanilla, as well as keeping to the lore as best as possible. Now then, the next category is the fully custom servers. Now, these servers basically are nothing like World of Warcraft. They are its own game at that point, using World of Warcraft assets and sometimes mechanics. Sometimes they're just using the assets and the mechanics themselves are completely different. So, that is something to keep in mind, that if it's more of like a server that you just want to try out, such as Shinobi Story, rest in peace. We'll get there in a second. But it was a Naruto game, like a Naruto MMO, using a Wrath of the Lich King client, and it was really fun. Now, the last category are the fun servers. Now, the fun servers, which differentiate it from the fully custom servers, are that it is a World of Warcraft server, unlike the fully custom ones, but they don't really tend to stick to the lore. They are as it mentioned, a fun server, a do whatever you want, regardless of the lore, regardless of mechanics, sometimes like instant boosting, instant gear given. Typically, you could play as races that normally you couldn't play before. The introduction of new classes that you couldn't play before. Now, that's not to say that those categories specifically mean it's a pure fun server. There are Vanilla Plus servers that can have new introduced races and new introduced classes. It just depends on how it's introduced and how it's implemented. Now then, we've gone through all of the categories. I'm going to be going through a list of private servers that you might be interested in or might not be interested in. Most of these I am at least aware of, and others I have played, while some of these I actually don't know much about them. I just, saw that they are under this category, so I am willing to broadcast out its name for your own, research purposes. Now, I will try to give you as much information as I can on these various servers, again, with the limitation of some of these servers I am not familiar with. I'll try to give you what type of server they are, PvE, PvP, as such as anything noteworthy that I remember about them if I have played it or at least heard about it. Now, the first one on my list is the Everlook server. That one is a recent server, I would say about a year or so, and they are looking to make a vanilla Blizzlike server with ×1 experience rates. They are a PvP server and they are progressing. I don't know if they plan on making additional servers for new seasons, or if they're gonna wipe or continue on. I know there were talks of possibly making it into a Vanilla Plus server. In my opinion, I don't think they should, but as of right now, I don't think they are. The next one is one that most people are going to be familiar with. It is Kronos, ran by the group known as Twinstar. Twinstar is the name that you're going to be hearing a lot of. It is a group that hosts many different types of private servers. However, their Kronos, as well as their Kronos 4 servers, are both Blizzlike vanilla servers. They are both ×1 experience, which basically means default vanilla leveling rates. And they are both PvP. The Twinstar Kronos Server 1 is already progressed through Next Remus, while Kronos 4 is currently progressing, at least the last time I checked. Now, the next one is going to be Vanilla Gaming. I did not play on this server. I played on Kronos, and I am aware of Everlook. I did not play on Vanilla Gaming, but they have the choice of ×1 or ×15 if you just want to blaze through the leveling really quick and get to the end game. They are fully progressed, and they are a PvP server. Now, those are the servers off the bat that I know of that are Blizz-like vanilla servers. Now, for the Burning Crusade servers, you have Endless, also known as Sun Fury, which has a ×8 experience gain, at least for the vanilla leveling portions. For the TBC portions, I do believe it is reduced. Either way, they are a PvP server, and they just recently came out with the Sun Fury server. They do, I believe, have another already fully progressed server, but the Sun Fury one in particular is a brand new one, so they are still progressing. The next one on my list is Chromicraft. Now, Chromicraft is, I believe, going to be a expansional progression server, which means after TBC, they should be going into Wrath of Lich King, from what I've been told. I have not played on Chromicraft, but as of right now, when I just checked, they are about to launch the Black Temple Raid. They are ×1, and it is a roleplay PvE server. The next one is Stormforge's Netherwing. Stormforge is another group of servers. You might recognize them as the Mist of Pandaria server. They also host a TBC server. Their experience gains are ×3, so it will be faster than normal, and they are a PvP server. I don't know how far they are into the progression, but I can't really talk more about that because I have not played that server in particular. And the last one is Smolder Forge, which is an instant level 70 PvP only server. So they're not really focusing on the raids. It is purely for PvP, which is why you can instant boost to level 70. There is also Fellmist, which Fellmist is a bit of a controversy at the moment, considering various factors from the head developer to their controversial yet also a little bit of experimental take on creating a TBC server where it is supposed to be as intended server rather than a Blizz-like server to host the... Basically what they're doing is trying to make a server that is supposed to be TBC as Blizzard intended it to be without all of the nuances and stuff that happened during the development of the server. And one of the things that they're doing is preventing add-on usage, which is kind of a deal breaker for most, but a lot of people do agree with that take. I'm personally indifferent, though I am more leaning toward the no add-ons take, but if you like it, you like it, and I would recommend at least trying Felmist. The next one is Netherstorm. Now, I have no information on Netherstorm. I just know it is a TBC Blizzlike server. Same thing with Crusader Storm, which is the last one on the TBC list. Crusader Storm is another Blizzlike TBC server, but unfortunately I do not have any more information on that server besides the fact that it exists. Now for Wrath of the Lich King. So with Wrath of the Lich King, starting off with Tori WoW on their Crystal Song server. Tori is another, again, group of servers, with Crystal Song being their Wrath of the Lich King server. It is an interchangeable choice between 1 to 7 times experience rate, which you can choose, and I believe you can swap mid-leveling if you wish to. It is a PvP server. The next one is Warmane. Now, they have many different servers, mostly with Wrath of Lich King with different variations on it, but the one that I have on my list here is the Onyxia server. It is a optional leveling that you could choose to either level slower at 0.5, or you can go up to ×3, and it is a PvP server. The next one for Wrath of the Lich King is WoW Circle. I have heard of this server, I have not played it. It is you could choose to be between ×1 or ×100, which basically means you kill one thing and you level instantly to level 80. But it's a PvE and PvP server. I don't know exactly how that functions, but both of the options are available. And the last one for Wrath of the Lich King is Dalaran WoW, which I only just heard about it, so I don't have much information other than the fact that they are a PvP server and they are ×1 experience. Now from there, each category is going to start being reduced more and more, as the top 3 being Vanilla, TBC, and Wrath are the most commonly seen private servers. From there, the other expansions are not as well liked, therefore you're not going to see as many private servers for them. However, with Cataclysm, I have 3 servers to tell you about. There's Firestorm, again, which is another group of private servers. Their Deathwing server is a ×5 PvE server. Then we have Twinstar again with their Apollo server, which is ×3 PvP. And lastly, we have Whitemane with their Deathwing server, another Deathwing server, but this is the Whitemane group rather than the Firestorm group. And you can choose your, no, you don't choose your leveling rates. It's actually a set of leveling rates depending on what bracket you're in. So from levels 1 to 60, it is ×3. From 80 to 85, it is ×2, and this is a PvP server. Now that's the last of the Cataclysm ones. For Mist of Pandaria, Firestorm again on their Garrosh server. You have ×5 experience rate with PvE. Stormforged on their Mistblade servers. Now this is one that I do play. Stormforged has 2 Mistblade servers right now, Mistblade 1 being the primary server. However, the population has lowered drastically to about 200 players online last time I checked, with Mistblade 2 being their current in-progression server. It just hit 5.4 not too long ago, as you know, this recording goes, and it hits well over 2,000 players online, but it is a ×3 experience gate PvP server, and it's pretty much my favorite Mist of Pandaria expansion. I would highly recommend it if you want to play that expansion. And the last one is Warmane on their Frostwolf server, which is ×7 experience, and it is PvP. Also, there is a Twin Star one called Helios. Helios is the Twin Star for Mist of Pandaria. I don't have much more information on that other than it exists. Now then, Warlords of Draenor, there is only one server that I could find, which is Firestorm's Gul'dan server. It is ×5 experience rate, and it is PvP. With Legion, now Legion, we have a lot of upcoming servers, so a couple of these are not quite there yet. At least one of them is not quite there yet, but it will be launching soon. I'll get to it when I get to it. But first, you have WoW Circle. So a WoW Circle again, they have a ×4 PvP Legion server. Firestorm again is one of those groups. Their Sylvanas server is ×3 PvE. You have Fellsong, which I have heard of Fellsong. It is ×5 PvE. Tori is another one. Now, we spoke about Tori earlier with one of their other earlier expansions, but Tori will be coming out with a Legion server soon. It is not quite out yet, so I would recommend joining their Discord for any information if you are looking for a fresh Legion server, at least relatively soon as of this video coming out. And there's also UWow. I have never heard of this server before, so I don't have any information other than the fact that it exists. Now then, for Battle for Azeroth, there is only one server, which is from the group Firestorm, and it is their Sethralis server, which is a ×3 experience gain, and it is a PvE server. Shadowlands, I only could find one server. I do believe there is a Firestorm or a Twin Star server, but the, yeah, they have a Firestorm server. I don't know what the name of the actual server itself for the Shadowlands one is called. I just know that Firestorm does have a Shadowlands server, and there's also a WoW Freak server, WoW Freaks rather. It's called, well, it's called WoW Freaks. It is 1.5 experience gain, and it is PvP. The Firestorm one, I know it exists, but unfortunately I don't know what the experience gain is or what type of server it is. Now then, that is the end of the Blizzlike servers. Now we're going to be getting into the Vanilla Plus servers. So again, to remind you, Vanilla Plus is a continuation of Vanilla with keeping the lore and the mechanics and the spirit of Vanilla in mind. Some of them will divulge off from Warcraft 3 lore, some of them try to keep within Vanilla and add a little bit of the other lore from TBC and Wrath, and others try to create their own thing, but at least keeping within the spirit of Vanilla. So, first one is one that everybody has heard about by now. It is Turtle WoW. Now, they do have a variance of leveling speeds, typically just ×1. You can optionally make it a little bit faster through various means, or you could choose turtle mode, which cuts it in half. They are a roleplay PvE server with optional war mode, and they do have a very high population, at least for a private server. It can range anywhere from a couple thousand all the way up to 5,000, 7,000. At one point they were hitting like 10,000 players. These days I believe it's between 2,000 and 5,000 because they do have multiple servers now to split up the population. Now, after that, we have Vanilla Plus. I remember when it came out, however, I did not get around to trying it out. Vanilla Plus, I believe, is a PvP server. I do not actually remember, so don't quote me on that. However, it is, from what I've been told, a decent server to play on. The next one is Everlook PvP. Now, Everlook is a Blizzlike server. The reason why it is here is because there is some... I believe they are trying to make a Vanilla Plus server. I don't know if they're actually going to go through with it. I just listed it here for in the event that it does happen, which is why it's listed. There is another server called Hate Forge. Now, that one is a Vanilla Plus server, and it is a PvE server. Azeroth at War. So now, most of you might consider Azeroth at War to be a fun server. I would definitely categorize this server as a mix of fun server with Vanilla Plus, leaning more toward Vanilla Plus. Azeroth at War is one that I am heavily involved with. It is one that I've been playing in the beta for a few betas. It is not fully out just yet. It is still in development. However, they do plan on releasing it within the next year or so with semi-frequent open betas. They are currently, as of this video, in their second open beta. Now, this server allows you to play as multiple different types of races on top of the existing ones, orcs, humans. You can play as Naga, you can play as ogres, you can play as the vanilla worgen, as well as broken, and goblins, and there's all different other types of races, Furbolg, and it's actually a pretty decent server. We'll just have to see how it develops in the future, as again, it is not fully finished. Wallcraft. Wallcraft is definitely a heavy vanilla plus server, and what I mean by heavy is that it is definitely trying to keep in the spirit of vanilla in terms of the mechanics as well as the lore. However, it's one developer, and he's being Wall, and he's putting a lot of effort into the server to add tons of different content that most of these other servers are not even thinking about, including huge zone-wide PvP areas that would take influence from like the Second War, like it would be like taking place back in time, but there would be different events happening. He said he wants to make it so there's a lot of like elements of RuneScape, being that you can interact with many different items on the ground, and there's so much more involved, player housing, obviously. There's so much more involved with this that I do have videos on if you want to go check out those videos to see more about Wallcraft, because I cannot even begin to list them all here without taking an hour of your time. So, moving on to the next one. Project Epoch. Project Epoch is definitely a contender in this Vanilla Plus race. It is going to be the competition to Turtle WoW, if you ask me. Now, Turtle WoW, not Turtle WoW, Project Epoch definitely has a lot of things going for it, but there's also some worries about it. Now, they just finished up their final beta when they're looking to release it at the end of this year. I don't know if it is planned on being delayed because of the final beta having a lot of issues. The first two betas didn't actually have a lot of issues at all, so I believe this is just a minor setback. Regardless, it is a Vanilla Plus server with some I would say content that is definitely unique to the server, such as their perception of time and how it is a 3-hour night and day cycle rather than a 24-hour cycle, and a lot of content being various mobs, different abilities and such, either taking place or being more powerful during the day versus during the night, and vice versa. There's also tons of more content involved in this server. That was just the major one that comes to mind, but definitely I would say check out Project Epoch if you haven't. I have tons of videos on them, as well as a developer Q&A if you wish to check that out. And the last one on this list for the Vanilla Plus servers, this is again a mix of two different types of categories, if you would ask me, is Revelation WoW. Revelation WoW is again, it is a mix of Vanilla WoW, or Vanilla Plus rather, mixed with a fun server, but this one, unlike Azeroth at War, is leaning more toward the fun server. So definitely, you do have to play the game as if it was a normal World of Warcraft game, which is why I put it in the Vanilla Plus category. But there's a lot of things about Revelation WoW that is highly different to any other private server that you've seen, from changes in the environment with the barrens being lush and full of greenery, what else? Mulgore having bits of snow into it, a giant desert that takes up half of the southern half of the Eastern Kingdoms, as well as many other things, and they also use HD models. There is a lot of stuff going for it. I do have my worries. A lot of people have their worries, especially after the history that it has built up over the last couple of years, but I am rooting for it all the same. I do want it to be a success, so we'll have to see how that one comes along in the future. Alright, so that is the last of the Vanilla Plus servers. Now we have the fun servers, and don't worry, this category is not nearly as long. Now remember, fun server is a Blizzard world, so it's going to be taking place in Azeroth in the world of Warcraft, but it is not lore accurate. The mechanics might be completely off base, and it is literally just a simulation or a do whatever you want server. The first one up is going to be Duskhaven 2. Now, a lot of you might want to categorize that as a Vanilla Plus server. I consider it a fun server because of the fact that it does not take lore into regard. They're going to have playable Pandaren and Void Elves and all this other kind of stuff on there, which is not in line with vanilla lore at all. Now, that doesn't mean it's a bad server. I personally loved Duskhaven 1, and I cannot wait to try Duskhaven 2. But again, per category, it is considered a fun server. They also have playable new custom classes, which they are revamping for 0.2, but previously they had the Bard class, the Demon Hunter, which was just an extension of the Rogue class, as well as some other ones I can't remember. Oh, the Tinker, and some other stuff that were different. They had a lot of new custom quests and custom areas, which, when they worked, they were fun. The problem is that they didn't work, but that's what they're planning to solve with the revamp in Duskhaven 2, so we'll have to see how that comes out. Unfortunately, it is not out yet. They've only had a couple of closed betas, but time will tell. And the next one is one that everybody has heard of. It is Ascension WoW. Ascension WoW is considered a fun server because the mechanics behind it are pretty much not World of Warcraft at all. It is a classless server, which basically means it is a simulation of World of Warcraft, as if you could pick any ability you want at the same time. Now, I personally tried this server and I did not like it because I did not like the classless aspect on top of other aspects of the game, but that was just me. A lot of other people do play it and have fun with it. It is one of the, if not the most popular private server out right now. So if you are interested in trying a simulation of World of Warcraft, they do have other expansions, so not just vanilla. They did go into TBC. I believe they're in Wrath now. I don't really remember, but classless, you could choose whatever abilities you want with a little bit of limitation and just go for it. Try to make all different specs and speculate and all this other kind of stuff. Now, the next one is Mond WoW. Mond WoW has been around for quite a long time. They recently relaunched to be a fun server where it's kind of hard to explain. I was planning on making a first impressions video because I did actually play this server. However, I scrapped that because I did not feel that it would be fair to the server because I had nothing but negative things to say about it. If the owner of the private server is watching this video, don't feel bad. I'm sorry, man. I really did not like your server at all. I did not want to publish the video because I did not want to put you in such a negative light. And I'm saying that now because it's just the way that the server is structured is just very messy. Now, I don't know how to explain this, but it's basically a do what you want server. There are bosses out in the world that can be in Northrend as well as some other areas that you can fight, but off of the bat, you are pretty much given a set of gear. You're given a set of gear, and you're given a bunch of gems and enchantments to basically boost up your haste, so you're just hit, and it's just an amalgamation of all this stuff that makes it just feel like a blur, and I did not have fun while doing them. But anyway, Mond WoW, if you are curious enough, then I would suggest checking it out. And the last one is the Doomhammer server. Unfortunately, I actually do not know much about this server. I just learned about it, so there's not much I can bring to you other than I know that it is a fun server. So Doomhammer, if you want to check that out, please, check out on Reddit. I know they have a post there about it. Now, the last category for this video, which is already half an hour long, is going to be the fully custom servers. Now, these kinds of servers take the assets of World of Warcraft, typically the 3.3.5 client and sometimes other clients, and they completely make it their own game. Some of these are with the theme of World of Warcraft, and some of these are of themes of other video games. But it really depends on the server. So the first thing is Prophecy, the Fall of Lordaeron. Now, this one I covered a little bit as it was in development. It did have a very rocky developmental cycle. It was in developmental hell and paused for a while, but news, which I've known for a while, but it just came out into public, so now I can finally speak about it. They have merged with Epsilon or whatever it's called WoW, and because they have merged with Epsilon WoW, they are getting help developing it so it will be much faster. They have all the tools and the team necessary now to get things rolling. Now, what is Prophecy WoW? Prophecy WoW is basically going to be a Dungeons and Dragons style game. However, it takes place just before Warcraft 3. This is literally the fall of Lordaeron, as the plague starts to take over, and eventually Arthas becomes the Lich King and Lordaeron falls. Now, it's going to start way before that, so it will give players enough time to settle in and have fun role-playing in Lordaeron before the Scourge invades. There will be Horde, there will be Alliance. I believe they might have some neutral, like Goblin-ish kind of areas, but it is very, very RPG heavy. There will be mechanics implemented to dice roll, determine your stats, all that kind of stuff that you would imagine with a with a D&D kind of game. But they will also have player-made events and GM or DM rather run events. So I've actually seen what it looks like. They are using I believe the Shadowlands client, and they have HD models, and it looks very impressive. They've actually expanded out Lordaeron, so it is much larger than it is currently in game. So I definitely recommend checking it out if you are at least interested in a Warcraft 3 esque roleplay server. But that is why they are merging with Epsilon, whatever it's called, because it is a a roleplay server. Now, Epsilon itself is I actually should have put Epsilon in the fun server rather than the fully custom, because it is, in a sense, World of Warcraft. However, it is a everyone gets god mode or admin mode. Everyone has admin mode, and everyone can spawn in stuff. You can even spawn your own phase to build your own town or settlement or house or whatever you want, and people can go through different phases and roleplay with each other. It is a pure roleplay game. It is very popular. A lot of people play on it. I tried playing on it, however, I don't really know how to use the GM commands or the admin commands, so I kind of got overwhelmed, and I didn't want to try it because I kind of got scared of trying it. But maybe one of these days I need to look into it further. But either way, just for the pure roleplay aspect, I definitely recommend checking out Epsilon WoW. The next one is on my list. However, I unfortunately found out that it has shut down, which would have been Shinobi Story. Shinobi Story is a Naruto-based MMO game using assets of 3.3.5, which is Wrath of the Lich King, and they developed an entire world surrounding the Naruto universe. They only had like the Leaf Village area, like the forest, playable at the last time I played it, but just that zone alone was massive, and they had planned on doing all the different other zones and all the different nations, the Sand Nation, the Rain, all that kind of stuff. But the Leaf Village, it was all fully fleshed out. Like, I got lost in that city. It was massive. Everything was custom. All the models, the buildings were custom. They had custom armor that made it look like from Naruto. They had the dog, the freaking little dog with the closed eyes. I don't remember what it's called, but all of that was there. The carved mountain with the different Hokages on it. It was impressive, and I actually had a lot of fun with that server. It's just unfortunate that it did close down. Now, if you are interested in at least seeing it, I do have, I don't believe it's, I may have had one stream, but I do have a first impressions video where I kind of go through at least until a certain level. So definitely check that out. The next one is the Hour of Twilight server. This is a roguelike server where it's basically dungeon runs. That's all you're doing is dungeon run. These are all custom dungeons, and a lot of them are solo dungeons, so you can do them by yourself. However, they do have some that are group only as well as raids. Now, this one, the leveling up system is completely different. You can have whatever race you want. you choose whatever move set you want, so you're not really choosing mage or warrior. You're choosing if you want to be a damage dealer, a healer, a tank, or a ranged user, right? Or, you know, melee versus ranged DPS. That's all you're choosing, and then they give you basic abilities. Now, the abilities system itself, I do not like. So how this works is that your gear, the item level of your gear, the average of it is what determines your level. So your item level could be 20, so your level's 20. Suddenly your item level is level 200, your level would be 200. And each piece of gear will have different colored slots. The colored slots represent different types of combat, which would be like red for tanking, yellow for agility, blue for intellect or whatever. And from there, the gems that you slot in have your abilities. So the problem I had with that is that if I got a new shoulder piece, for an example, well, that shoulder piece had the gem slot for my Frostbolt ability. Suddenly, I no longer can use Frostbolt because I forgot to gem it, which means I would have to leave the dungeon, go back, reslot, making new gems, making new armor, whatever it is, and then go back into the dungeon. So there is a lot of messiness involved with the systems of this server. However, the concept itself was pretty fun, and I did enjoy the few times I did play it. So if you are interested in a roguelike, just dungeon crawler-esque style, you know, fully custom server, definitely check out Hour of Twilight. The next one is Anarchy WoW. So that one was actually supposed to launch last week. They did hit a delay of multiple issues happened at the same time, so they delayed it back. So it should be releasing relatively soon, at least as of this month. I do plan on playing it. Now, this one is a fully custom, its own unique lore, its own unique world map. However, while the mechanics themselves will be pretty much World of Warcraft, they have the generic classes, but they're going to have 3 new custom classes. Every race, so they do not have humans, they do not have orcs, dwarves, they have all unique races, such as Naga, Vrykul, ogres, I believe, Arakoa, all this other kind of races that most of them you never see on other private servers, like the Arakoa, for an example, or the, oh, dude, what are the lizard dudes from Mr. Pandaria? I can't remember what they're called. The lizard dudes. The basilisk dudes. I can't remember. Anyway, those guys are playable too. So they have definitely a lot of new custom races to play from. Not only that, they have a morality system. So you could choose different paths to take, different choices to make as you level up in this new world. And through this RPG system, you will go toward more of the light or more towards the darkness. And then at level 45, I believe they confirmed, is when your path expands out and you will embrace the light or embrace the darkness, depending on what choices you picked. So definitely look for Anarchy WoW if you are interested in that kind of system. This next one is definitely hype. This is one I am looking forward to, is World of RuneScape. World of RuneScape is looking to recreate OSRS, or old school RuneScape, in the Warcraft engine. So the game itself is RuneScape. Everything about it is RuneScape. It is just using World of Warcraft assets, but they will allow you to play as a Tauren or an Orc, so you're not just limited to a human, but everything else will be as it was in RuneScape. He's going to start off with everything up until 2006, and then once that all is implemented, from there he does plan on adding newer stuff that was implemented in old school RuneScape, such as I'm trying to think, different content that was added later on, though he will be going down the line, so don't expect to see Valamor, or whatever it's called, anytime soon. The next one, I've got 2 more for you, is Forgotten Lands. Now, I only just heard about this server, so I don't have anything to talk about as of right now, but the Forgotten Lands is going to be a fully custom World of Warcraft server. And the last server for this video is going to be Sargeras's Embrace. Now, this one is a little bit wishy-washy in terms of the development, because it was in development. The way to explain this is Sargeras's Embrace is being developed by a Spanish, and by Spanish I believe they are from Spain, group that had their own Vanilla Plus style server, I believe. I don't quite remember on that, but regardless, and they were experimenting with different content that they were creating all custom. And then as they experimented on that server, that became basically a developmental server, and now they are creating their own unique server called Sargeras' Embrace, using all of that custom content they've already been experimenting on and implementing it into one massive, fully custom expansion is what they're calling it, as this one is planning to be a player-made modern-day expansion rather than a TBC Plus or a Wrath of Lich King Plus. What this is that after Wrath of the Lich King, instead of the Cataclysm, it was just a time of peace for about 10 years, about the time that, Legion would have happened. And then, instead of the Legion, well, it is the Legion, but not in the way that we saw it in the Legion expansion. It will be the Legion invading, but in a different manner, with all new enemies. They have a list lineup of new enemies to fight, new lore, all this kind of stuff. They will be having player housing and tons of new added content. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but it looks amazing, and I actually really want to try it. Now, the issue was, I think for a while it did go into developmental hell. However, they just recently announced that they are merging with Ascension WoW. So, by the way, World of RuneScape also merged with Ascension WoW. So, as far as I know, nothing is being touched. The only thing that Ascension WoW is doing is hosting it. So, once World of RuneScape is up and running, you will play that through the Ascension launcher, but Ascension is not touching them in any way. No monetization, nothing like that, other than maybe providing some tools for the developer to work on the server, as well as monetization. Going back to Sargeras' Embrace, I don't know how far they are into the merge. I don't know if they're doing the same thing with World of RuneScape, or if they are more involved. I don't quite have anything, because they are not really publishing updates not regularly, but I would say publicly. The only way to really get updates is if you give them like $1 on the Kickstarter campaign. So that's really the only way to get updates from Sargeras' Embrace. So it is a wait and see on Sargeras' Embrace. However, the trailer alone is hype. Now, anyway, that is the end of this video. It was a long one, to be sure, but I hope you got some valuable information out of this, and what type of private server you are looking for. From there, what of those that I listed you're more interested in. Please let me know down below. Give me your top 3 servers. If you only play one, that is fine. However, I play multiple. So if you play multiple as well, or like different types of servers, give me your top 3 or top 1, it doesn't matter. And I just, I want to see what type of servers people are playing. Now, until then, I will see you next time. Be sure to like this video and subscribe if you want to see more World of Warcraft and World of Warcraft private server content, news, videos, all that jazz. See ya.